أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إلهنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا بالقاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين سيما بقية الله في السماوات والأراضين روحي وأرواحنا وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. قال الله الحكيم في القرآن الكريم يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة وإنها لكبيرة إلا على الخاشعين صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the honor of Mawlana wa Sayyidina Rasulullah and his immaculate progeny, recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Alhamdulillah that Allah gave me this chance to be among brothers and sisters in Yasin Educational Foundation again. And may Allah inshallah give us the tawfiq to be able to spend these nights that we have in front of ourselves, inshallah, these few nights, in the way of increasing our knowledge and, inshallah, our ma'rifah toward the Holy Quran and toward the message of Ahlul Bayt. And the outcome of these majalis and these participation, inshallah, is application and amal of what we learn. This warning in Quran is very evident that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned people about collecting information, knowing a lot, and no application. Lots of ilm, but no amal. And we have the worst of people in some of the tradition by the Holy Prophet are those who know, those who actually are aware of what is wrong and what is right, but in their amal and in their action, they go opposite of what they know. And also, the most dangerous one, according to the Quran, is a question, rhetorical question that Allah asks us. لَمَا تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Why you say something, why you preach something that you yourself do not appreciate, do not follow. If you don't follow what you say, and Allah is asking, lima, for what purpose you led yourselves to claim that you have faith and iman. And this is inshallah, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of Muharram and Safar that we participate in all these majalis from the beginning of Muharram. And most of you, alhamdulillah, probably heard a lot of lectures, a lot of information we receive regarding the history of the Sayyid al-Shuhada's legacy and also about teachings of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt, that there is actual pragmatic change in our lives. It's important to memorize traditions. We have tradition by Ahlul Bayt about the importance of memorizing at least 40 hadith. And those who actually memorize the hadith and traditions by heart, and this by heart means that you don't only memorize the words, but actually you understand it. You reflect and you digest what hadith is saying. And those, if truly someone only memorize and understand 40 word of the infallibles, according to Imam Sayyid's tradition, the doors of hikmah, the doors of wisdom will be open to him or her. May Allah inshallah open the doors of hikmah and wisdom to all of us and be able to appreciate the message of Quran and message of Ahlul Bayt with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Inshallah, from tomorrow night, at the beginning of lecture, I will address certain questions that people have regarding majalis of Sayyid al-Shuhada or the majalis for Ahlul Bayt. They're very basic questions. Probably some of you already heard those questions and answers, but it's good for some of our younger generation to review those, and maybe for some people that they have this question or these kind of questions to find complete answers from the school of Ahlul Bayt. That what is the philosophy of participating in these majalis? What is the philosophy of crying for Sayyid al-Shuhada? What is the reason for azadari, matam, different words that we use, this process of mourning for Sayyid al-Shuhada, specifically in the form of chest beating and all that. From tomorrow night, inshallah, I will address these at the beginning of my lectures. Then I will start my lecture, which is the topic will be separate from those questions. So I'll try to separate them, that we understand that part of, let's say, answering questions and concerns regarding these majalis, and then inshallah the topic that we will cover in these nights, inshallah. If you have a specific question in mind, I'll ask brothers and sisters who are serving all of us, and may Allah inshallah give them increase of tawfiq and help them in this path of preparing these majalis for all of us, to inshallah collect questions. If you have any question, and make sure questions that could be suitable and useful for everyone. If it's a personal question, I'll be at your service. I'll do my best inshallah to stay after a lecture. I'll be here inshallah if you have a question that is only concerning to you. But if it's a question that you think maybe other people have the same question in mind, write it down, give it to organizers of the majlis, and they will give it to me, and inshallah I'll try to address them every night as much as we have time, inshallah. But tonight, the topic that I will inshallah discuss, and I think it will take more than one night to understand this, is when we look at the history, one of the important elements of history is ignorance is very dominant among people, regardless of their religion and faith. When we see in the time of Rasulullah, when Rasulullah started his message and legacy, minority stood by the side of the Prophet. When Rasulullah started his message with Arbaeen, وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ, with his close family members, only Ali ibn Abi Talib was the one who stood up and accepted the message at the beginning. Many of those people were skeptic about the success of this religion that Rasulullah called Islam, and they denied to accept. Although Rasulullah promised, whoever accepts this message will be my successor, will be the one who lead my ummah after me, but no one take that religion, that message seriously enough to accept. And even after the Prophet's departure, we see this fight of power, this greed to lead, force people to forget the message of the Prophet, forget the advice of the Prophet regarding what will happen after me and how to make sure that you have the truth after me, how you preserve the religion of Islam properly after me. And a lot of people unfortunately took one side, and a minority, again according to some reports, less than 10 people stood by the side of Eid al-Ghadir message and by the announcement of the Prophet regarding Ahlul Bid'ah alayhi wassalam. And as we go on in history, we see this repetition, this lack of vision and understanding, force people to make not only a small mistake, great mistakes. In the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, we see that his own companions are the one who stop Imam Ali alayhi salam in the middle of the battle and force him for agreement and a peace treaty. In the time of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, we see that his own cousin, the commander of his army, Ubaidullah ibn Abbas, with more than 20,000 people under his command, easily leaves Imam Hassan alayhi salam and joins Muawiyah's side. And when we hear these stories, we think how disgraceful these people were, how unthankful they were. They saw Imam Ali alayhi salam, they saw Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and they chose people like Muawiyah over Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. How ignorant they were that they make this mistake. Not only them, but if you go one by one, in the time of Ahlul Bayt, we see this happens over and over again. Sometimes even relatives of the Ahlul Bayt, they make this mistake. Relatives. Imam Rida alayhi salam's brother, Zayd, is the one who's involved in a conflict in Medina. They capture him. They bring him to Imam Rida alayhi salam, and Imam alayhi salam asked him this question, my brother, what do you think will happen to you because of what you did? They give him the title of Zaydun Nar, the one who caused a lot of problem in Medina. Nar means fire, a man of fire. That he technically burned down part of Medina because of his acts. And Imam said, do you think because you are the son of the Imam, Allah will not question you? You think because of your relations with the Imam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not hold you accountable? And Imam tells them that your actions represent who you are and your relations to your father and Ahlul Bayt. So it is not only this problem among the follower of Ahlul Bayt, even among relatives of Ahlul Bayt. And about the messengers of Allah, it was the same thing. That not all the followers of Prophet and messengers of Allah were in the right side. Why I give this very long introduction to come to this understanding that possibility of ignorance is a very high risk for every human being to be indulged in ignorance. And this ignorance is not lack of ability to read or write. This ignorance is not about how sophisticated your behavior is. This ignorance is ignorance and lack of ability to recognize between truth and falsehood. That how you, in what level of ignorance you must be to choose Muawiyah over Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And it's not that complicated, for us at least. But we see this pattern of choosing falsehood over truth. It's something very, as I said, very dominant and very, very easily being chosen by people. And Allah in Quran said that you will be amazed by abundance of falsehood and followers of the falsehood. Thank you. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allah in Quran said that you will see the abundance of corruption. You will see the abundance of falsehood. And it will amaze you. It will shock you. But this abundance of falsehood does not make false to change its position and become true. لا يستوي الخبيث والطيب. That corruption, falsehood, wrong is not equal to purity and to cleanliness. It doesn't become equal of one another. وَلَوْ أَعْجَبَكَ كَثْرَةُ الْخَبِيثِ. Although you will see that the abundance of corruption will amaze you. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ. And be aware in that time of abundance of people choosing falsehood over truth, that the only thing can help you is taqwa. The only thing that truly help you to recognize falsehood and truth is actual God consciousness and taqwa. And inshallah tonight, and I try to finish this topic in 2 nights, by inshallah, covering all the different aspects of this topic. And that's understanding of how to recognize haqq. We have tradition regarding the Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, Imam of our time, recite the salawat. We have in some tradition that some of the people who will stand against the Imam, this is one of the prophecies, is that one of the group of people who will stand against the Imam are the people who claim that they are follower of the Imam. They will stand against the Imam. It's a possibility. And many of our ulama said this, that when you say Allahumma ajjal waliyyika al-faraj, that Ya Allah hasten the reappearance and the end of occultation of the Imam, make sure when you say this, this is like that invitation that people were sending to Imam Hassan alayhi salam for him to come to Kufa. Now imagine Imam is here. Are you one of those people who sent a letter and now when the Imam is actually here, will go and stand by your words and promise? And do you give your allegiance to the Imam? Or are you one of those people, which they were normal human beings, they were not evil human beings, they were actual human beings, that they make the wrong decision to give up on Imam Musa salam, to leave him alone. That Imam salam over and over repeated, Hal min nasirin yansurni, is there anyone to help us? Is there anyone to support us? And they ignored. Same people who wrote letters to Imam alayhi salam. Quran is about hope and fear, and this balance is not impossible to achieve, but it requires awareness 24/7. When it comes to the path of spiritual wayfaring, there is no day off. There is no exception. There is no time that we can say, okay, this day, it's a day that is no need for you to keep check and balance on your actions and your thoughts and your intentions. It's an ongoing process. Unfortunately, because of our some of our lifestyles and some of our habits, we expect doing something, then having some time off. We go to school and then we have some time off. We go to work and then we have a vacation. We do something and then we have a time off. Again, is all the time we have that moment of, let's say, expression and relief. But when it comes to the path of taqwa, there is no time off. When it comes to self-accountability, there is no moment that Allah said, okay, this second, it's okay for you to do whatever you want. Even Eid, the day of celebration, which unfortunately, again, some people think that's a day that it's okay, and I've heard people actually say it. When the day Eid al-Fitr comes or Eid al-Adha comes, so it's the day of Eid, be happy, which we find with being happy, but how to express that happiness. So for 1 month we were fasting. Now this is the day of Eid. And then we see Ahlul Bayt, they make sure we are not taking advantage of this message of Eid. And Imam Ali alayhi salam said that every day that you don't commit a sin, that day is your Eid. But if in the middle of the day of Eid, at the beginning or end of it, you commit a sin, that's not Eid anymore. Quran wants to maintain that balance, but balance requires attention and focus. And this focus happens when we talk about balance, there are two sides to balance. There's imbalance happens, as I said, because people take one side. When we talk about hope, which is an important concept in Quran, Allah said hope is very essential to your belief. No one has a permission to take away hope from any human being. Not from yourself, not from others. But at the same time that hope is so essential, you must understand the idea of khawf. There is raja, which is hope, and there is khawf, which is fear. And khawf is essential as well. That if you have no fear of the consequence of your amal and actions, as a very motivating force, you will not be able to achieve balance either. When we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah talks about shaitan. When we talk about hidayat, Allah talks about dhalala. When we talk about guidance and misguidance, it's all about the balance. It's about understanding two dichotomy system of this design. Haqq and batil. Question: how to recognize haqq? And haqq is a term which is general, but it helps us to make decisions. And in our religion specifically, Allah gave us a guideline that then the details, if you understand the concept, it will be easy to apply. I said this many times. Some people ask me questions regarding details. Especially in fiqh, there are some details we have to address, but sometimes in fiqh they didn't give us details. They give us a structure, a rule to follow. For example, when it comes to music, They didn't categorize music as this and this and this, and then name all these different style and categories of music. They said, okay, if music is suitable for this kind of environment, this is what is the rule and outcome. This is what you have to do. If it's not suitable, this is what it is. They don't talk about a specific singer. They don't talk about a specific type of music. They just give you a guideline. You have the structure to follow. Same thing about different rules regarding Islamic laws. And haqq and batil, it's regarding every decision we make. When I make a decision to pay and spend my money, do I spend my money for the sake of truth or batil, falsehood? When I'm getting married, is this marriage for the sake of truth or falsehood? When I'm doing everything, when I spend hours and days of my life for one cause, is that for truth or falsehood? So this equipment and this tool of recognizing haqq and batil help us a lot in decision-making process. Help us with confusion. And Allah said this, the best way to do this, the best of people who recognize haqq and batil according to Quran, Allah calls them ulil albab. Inna fi dhalika la ayatin li ulil albab. Allah mentioned a story. Allah talks about the creation of the earth and heavens. Then Allah said, in this example, in this story, there are signs for ulil albab. So ulil albab are the ones who see the truth. They recognize the truth and they take it. They don't get confused. Ulil albab are the one, according to Quran, that even in the hardest times, when everything is mixed, when it's very hard to detect haqq from truth, from batil, they're the one who have the best ability to recognize that. And ulil albab, ulu in Arabic means owners, carriers. Albab is a plural of the lub. Lub, again in Arabic terminology, one of the definition, they said brain, they call it lub. But in our tafasir said lub is a level of intellectuality beyond just, this basic rational reasoning. Is beyond that. It's a level of intellectuality that you use not only your senses, but something beyond senses to understand the universe and understand your surrounding. To understand Allah, you cannot only use, I cannot and you cannot only use senses. It will not be enough to find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ulil albab are the ones who actually utilize all their resources, including senses, to recognize what is right and what is truth. So let's call ulil albab owners of intellectuality, owners of wisdom. But as I said, albab is a level of wisdom that specifically help you in understanding something more than what sense can comprehend. And you will see around 23 times, 24 times in different verses of Quran, Allah talks about ulil albab. And in every of these verses, Allah tried to say one thing, that if you have this power of lub and intellectuality and wisdom, you will not be stranded. You will not be confused. You will not be. Let me talk about istikhara for a second, then we go to the topic. Istikhara is talabul khair. It's a concept and idea that when you're in a process of making a decision and you're not able to make a decision, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. You ask for khair, for a solution, the best of solution, and that decision from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are different ways. The most famous one, the most advised one, is the istikhara with Quran. But what happens, some people, they make a shortcut. And as human beings, we love shortcuts, right? We want some, a shortcut to find something right away. Teach us a dhikr that we can, have this, let's say, understanding this level of taqwa in a matter of 1 week. Is there a dhikr out there to do this? And I know people who go to ziyarah with that intention. I've known people that when we went to ziyarah a few years ago, some people accompanied this group. The intention of this was, I want to go and I find something miraculously happen to me. I'm going to ziyarah, but not, of course, we go for the sake of spiritual transformation, earning something from the blessing of ziyarah. But no, this person was different. After talking to him, I figured out that what he expected was after you go to the ziyarah, he wanted to return from the ziyarah with barzakhi eye. He wanted to see the truth in people. That was the intention of the ziyarah. I told him, first of all, why you want to see the barzakhi eye? Why you need that? So I want to know people, who they are, who I'm dealing with. I know their true face. So if you have that intention, you will never attain that. You will never gain that, first of all. The intention behind asking for such a thing. And second of all, these kind of blessings are not being granted in exchange of one ziyarah and spending a couple of thousand in your journey. It doesn't work that way. That shortcuts doesn't exist. And if there is a shortcut, it means it's not healthy. If there is such a shortcut. I said this a while ago. I talk about this in Yasin LA. Someone sent me a tradition that if you had Salatul Qadha, if you missed your prayers, your daily prayers, wajib prayers, there's 2 rakat prayers to perform and has a certain instruction, and all your qadha salat will be forgiven. People actually were copy-pasting this and sending it to one another. Stop wasting your time with the make-up qadha salat. This is a 2 rakat salat solution, a shortcut. It was printed in a book, and that book unfortunately became one of the best-selling among some Muslims. Which again, that tradition itself wasn't authentic, and it cannot even work because wajib must be performed. If you missed it, you have to make it up. Even if somebody passed away, still they're not done with it. You means as an oldest son or finding someone to do it on their behalf. It still must be performed. Is a dain, is a haq, is a right on you that must be performed. Shortcut. And Quran talks about this, that everything in our religion is about consistency. When Allah talks about mu'minun, He said, الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. If you want to be a mu'min is the one who has consistency in their prayers. A seasonal prayers doesn't work. A Muharram only, Safar only, Ramadan only prayers does not bring faith and iman. Da'imun, dawam, and consistency is what is a requirement to attain that. So these ulul albab, they understand that the life, the way it works, there's no shortcut. That you have to go through proper channels to attain wisdom. Someone came to Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu was salam, recite the salawat. And asked Imam alayhi salam that if I want to be your student. And Imam alayhi salam told him, come, there is a class going on. Everybody is coming and sitting down. You can come and sit down as well. So no, I want to be your acquaintance. I want to walk with you. I want to spend specific, special classes for me. And Imam alayhi salam told him, come to those classes, public classes that everyone come. Let's just start with those. But he insisted. And he insisted. Until Imam alayhi salam told him, whenever you were able to come and sit in that class and you look at the other student in the class and you truly and genuinely believed that those who are sitting around you, they're not better than you. You genuinely believe that you are lower than them and they are better than you. When that day comes, I will accept you as my student. You come and you look at other students and you don't feel that I'm better than them. This is the meaning of ulil albab. Ulil albab are not the one who think they are wise, by the way. They don't claim they're wise. They are intellectuals, that their intellectuality is evident in their living, in their actions, in their decisions. No need for them to announce it. Our ulama, which they follow the path of Quran, if you look at them, never, the true one, they never look for fame. I talk about fame because unfortunately there is this fever of fame among, especially among Californians. I travel to other states. I think we are, because of maybe, is there a relationship between us and closer, being close, approximately physically close to Hollywood? I don't know. But this fame, people want to take pictures with anyone who has a little bit of, I don't know what they call it, fame. I've seen people, they take signatures. I'm not talking about celebrities. I'm talking about a reciter, a sheikh. And I don't understand why. Then eventually, it takes some time for me to understand why is that. So we're Muslim, alhamdulillah, we have this structure of Islam. Of course, we cannot find anything, familiar with those celebrities. Let's find something, let's create our own form of celebrity. We call it a sheikh, or we call it a reciter, or maddah, or whatever you call it. But the idea of celebrity, idea of fame, is something that you don't find among awliya Allah. The true friends of God are the ones that are most anonymous. And they're not anonymous because nobody recognizes them. Because we think, awliya Allah and friends of Allah are the one that because they're friends of Allah. No, they don't look for fame. They don't care for it. They try, they do their best to cover the tracks that no one even recognizes them. And if you look at our scholars, when they write a book, many of them, if they have a choice, they tell the one who's the editor, the one who's planning to design a cover, to don't even put their first name. Ayatollah Bahjat, may Allah bless his soul, if you see some of his books, he asked just for his initials, because there should be something on the cover. And put Al-Abd, servant of Allah, Al-Abd, that's it. Sheikh Hassan Ali Khodaki Isfahani, I mentioned his name, there's 2 volumes of book about his karamat. A normal man used to live in a village, a alim, knowledgeable man. People with problems used to come to him and he used to recite Hamd and Surah on a date or on a fig and give it to them. And a lot of people said from that blessing, from just only recitation of Hamd and Qul Huwa Allah, the problem was resolved. The sick was cured because of Hamd and Surah. He is buried in Imam Rida alayhi salam shrine. If you go to his grave, Hassan Nukhodaki Isfahani, he asked to put his initial on the, so first of all, bury me under the feet of the visitors of Imam Rida alayhi salam shrine. That I wish my grave to be under the feet of them. And put my initial, I don't put the name of Hassan because I don't want people to walk on the name of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Put only Hay. And if you actually go, this is what it is. Recently they moved as a symbol, recently, it's very recent, they put it on a wall and they put the full name that people actually know where he is buried. He never asked for it, but a lot of people, if you go on a daily basis, you will see at least few people on his grave reciting Hamdan Surah for him. He never asked for it. Awliya Allah are the one who truly have intellectuality. They are the one who actually understand the importance of truth and falsehood. Because the ultimate fame comes from that. There's temporary fame. You see the social media fame, especially at our time and day. It's people are famous for 6 months. 6 months later, they're not even being remembered anymore. I didn't know that. I was talking to a couple of youth. I figure out a gorilla is famous more than many people. A gorilla. And everybody talks about it. But there's a thirst for it. I'm not saying I'm not in the position of judgment. I'm in the position of recognizing that why is that? That why we care so much about fame. What is missing that we don't find content and happiness without fame? That we care so much about those clicks and likes. What happened to us? That we spend hours on filters to make sure that we take a picture in a specific angle with a specific filter that we get a couple of more likes. And not necessarily, we're not talking about, people who take a picture of committing haram. No, in the masjid. And people take photos in places that we don't even imagine. I've seen people taking photos in funerals. In funerals, people have their cell phone and taking photos. This is lack of intellectuality. We think as a human being, as a human race, we're advancing, we're becoming more intellectuals. Now we talk about topics that we only, for example, politicians used to talk, or scholars or philosophers. Now as a human being, without that, I'm able to talk about those matters. Big words, knowing everything, knowing certain things does not make us intellectuals. At the end of the time, at the end of our day, intellectual is the one who knows how to handle his family. Intellectual is the one who, when is the moment of leaving this dunya, there is no regret for that person. That's the wisest of all. Intellectual is the one who understands that with this short and scarce resources that we have, how to use it properly. So let me talk about one quality of ulul albab and finish my lecture with that. Quran talks about ulul albab, as I said, in multiple locations. One of them is the last verse of Surah Yusuf. Allah talks about Surah Yusuf, and the last ayah, Allah said, you just recited this story, amazing story of Yusuf. Remember, indeed in this story, in this example of Yusuf, لَعِبْرَةً لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. After saying all this story, said there is a ibrah for ulul albab. What is ibrah? Ibrah in Arabic means when you learn a lesson in a level that you actually transform your existence. It's not inspiration. It's not just enjoying a story. It's not just feeling bad or feeling good about a story. Ibrah means when you read a story and now this story changed your life, that you make a decision to live differently, to change the direction of the way you think and you live. That's what the ibrah is. And Imam Ali in Nahjul Balagha said there are a lot of occasions of ibrah for people, but those who actually learn from the ibrah are very few. And Allah said for the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, there is ibrah. But not everyone will gain that ibrah. There are a lot of people who read this story. And those who I think they're more of a visual people, they will watch the series instead of reading the story, right? But there's a ibrah li'ulil albab. Those who are actually intellectual will be able to gain something from this story. Not only a story of Yusuf alayhi salam according to Quran. It said in our qisas, in the stories of Quran, they are ibrah for the ulil albab. Then when you read Surah Yusuf alayhi salam, Allama Tabatabai said that when I recite Surah Yusuf, I found more than 30 reasons that why Yusuf alayhi salam could have done and could have committed that sin. 30 reasons for him. Justifiable reason. He was young. The other side asked for the sin. No one was there. He was, as a servant, was obligated to listen to. He was threatened by her that he would be exposed and all that. Well, a lot of reasons, 30 reasons. But Yusuf at the end said, قَالَ مَعَذَ اللَّهِ. And Allah said, if you understand the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, and if you're intellectual, you understand that what a great example this story is for you. And I've heard this many times. People say, we live in the West. It's a different environment. It's a different world that we live in. The expectation of our religion from us is different. It's not that easy to be in charge of ourselves. It's not that easy to make these decisions that Quran and Islam and our ulama and scholars said about mahram and no mahram, about how to deal in the relationships and all that. It's not practical. And Allah said, if you read Surah Yusuf alayhi salam, you will understand that you're not the only one with those dilemma, with those problems. But who will understand the story of Yusuf? Ulil albab. So the first sign of the owners of wisdom, owners of intellectuality according to Quran, is to learn from the past. To set an example from stories, to avoid making the same mistakes. And going back, why we have these majalis. Majalis of Sayyid al-Shuhada is the greatest ibrah for all of us. When we hear the story of Sayyid al-Shuhada every year, annually, there is a ibrah. Because who are the people who stood against Sayyid al-Shuhada? The atrocity, the cruelty of human being could reach that level that have no limit technically. That human beings become so cruel that there is no mercy for children, for women, for teenagers, for no one. But only ulil albab will gain benefit from the stories of Sayyid al-Shuhada as well. Because ibrah, setting an example of the stories only for people who are wise enough to learn will happen. And there is this disease of indifference, this disease of carelessness, that we read something and we know it's so wrong. We know that. But at the end, there is this habit of saying, okay, I know this is wrong. I know what I do is wrong. I know I have to do something about this. But there is this, in text messages, a lot of us, we send MEH, right? What are you going to do about it? Indifference. I know I should be better with my, with my family. I know I should spend more time with my family. I know many things. There are a lot of things. I have to take care of myself. Then we justify. We go back to nafs, and nafs appreciate that. I said this another, and this is, I think, an important problem, that people want those kind of lectures that make them feel good. Give us a lecture that when we're leaving, we feel great. That kind of lecture is a good lecture. If you give me a lecture that I have to think, and especially if that think is not about judging other people, it's about judging my own character, Oh. And the whole purpose of these majalis is reflection. When it comes to mu'adha, preaching, it's easy to make it's easy to make people feel good about themselves. It's easy. We make a couple of stuff, everybody's bad, we're great. But the more we understand that if everything is so great, what is the reason behind some of the problems I'm facing on a daily basis? Why my relationship with my wife, with my husband is not that great? Imagine expecting lectures to be only positive. As I said, balance is a requirement. I hate that the lecture is all negative either. It should be a balance. Hope and fear. Punishment and reward. It's all about balance. But at the end, imagine if you go and you have a problem with your wife or with your husband, and the counselor is listening to you. And you talk about your problem, and the counselor, the only thing said, when the wife is speaking, said, okay, you're right. When the husband is speaking, said, okay, you're right. Do you think that problem will be solved? If everybody is right, what's the problem? We have a community, and we want this community to function, to move ahead, move forward. And to this to actually happen, and alhamdulillah, we're having progress. We cannot ignore the progress. But if we see problems, the best way to deal with the problem is to understand the problem and take responsibility for it. And that's one of the signs of ulul albab, that you learn lessons. When you read the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, you don't just look at the story, you find yourself, you personify that, okay, in this story of Yusuf alayhi salam, where am I in this story? How does this story impact my life? When I hear the story of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam, those tears, when we hear the musibah of Sayyid al-Shuhada, mostly, of course, Sayyid al-Shuhada does not need our tears. According to Zainab salamullah alayha, ma ra'aytu illa jamila. This family said, if we gave our lives, it was part of our beauty of this sacrifice. And these tears is mostly for our own sake. The Rasulullah said, if an eye cries for the Sayyid al-Shuhada, for Hussein alayhi salam, we have two traditions. The two eyes, they will not be tearful in the day of judgment. One, the eye that is crying out of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's fear. And the second is the eye who cries for Sayyid al-Shuhada. There's a relationship between these two tears. There's inspiration is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in both cases. When we cry for Sayyid al-Shuhada, or when we cry for the khawf and the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the fear of our own sins. But understanding it requires responsibility. That sometimes we feel there's no need for me to cry because I'm good. There's nothing wrong with me. And alhamdulillah, I hope that's a reality. But God forbid if that is just a mirage that we created. If that's just a pretend thoughts for us that everybody else is wrong but I'm good, then this ignorant picture of your life will not let you resolve problems, will not let us move forward. May Allah inshallah in these day and nights of the month of Safar, we're approaching 28th of Safar also, which is the anniversary of the departure of the Holy Messenger of Allah. May Allah inshallah help all of us to attain wisdom, a wisdom that help us recognize falsehood from the truth. May Allah help us to recognize our shortcomings and to look for a cure. When we pray for the shafa, for the cure, it's very important to remember those who are sick. But at the same time, when you hear it said, Ya man ismuhu dawa wa dhikruhu shafa, when you recite Amman Yujib, recite one Amman Yujib for those who are sick. But at the same time, one of that dua should be for ourselves. That, Ya Allah, there are imperfections with me. There are shortcomings. There are bad habits with me. I'm talking about myself here personally. That, Ya Allah, cure those shortcomings. Help me to work on them. Help me recognize them. That the worst of ignorance is lack of understanding of ignorance. We have this famous saying by one of our urafa, that the one type of ignorance is the one that the ignorant is aware of that. He knows or she knows that he or she is ignorant. This person eventually will reach the destination, will achieve success. But there is a type of ignorance that they will never find truth and guidance. And they are the one that they don't think they are ignorant. We call that jahl murakkab, complex ignorance. That someone is so arrogant and so blind that they don't see their own ignorance. If we look at history of Sayyid al-Shahadan, we will see that Umar ibn Sa'd, Sheikh Modarres al-Jawshan, these people, they used to be not, evil people. They were not like that. But in the day of Ashura, some of them, they reached a level that they thought that the killing of Sayyid al-Shuhada is the truth. That we perform ghusl of shahada. 20,000 people in some reports, they perform ghusl, they wash themselves, qurbatan ila Allah, for the sake of Allah, to kill Imam Hussain alayhi salam. This is that complex ignorance. That you're so sure about what you do, that you hear Imam Hussain alayhi salam's preaching and words, and that Imam tried to make them understand that you killing me, tell me what is my crime, what is the crime that I committed, what is my sin, that you think I'm worthy of being killed, that my family, they don't deserve mercy. What did I do? And they're so blindly sure about what they do that they ignored all that. I said, don't worry, very soon we will send you where you deserve. They think they send Sayyid al-Shuhada to Jahannam and to punishment. This is the problem of complex ignorance. And that's the importance of becoming ulil albab. Because ulil albab, they see. And may Allah inshallah help us to start with the first step. So it's important to become ulul albab. It's important to become intellectuals. And again, the definition of intellectual I mentioned is not the intellectuals we define in a modern system. The Quran, what they consider ulul albab. A true intellectual according to the Quran. And to attain that according to the Quran, we need ibrah. We need transformation when we read Quran. In the time of Rasulullah, the best musibah for Rasulullah's companion was Quran. When Rasulullah started reciting Surah Al-Qari'ah, people like Salman, they started to cry. That, Ya Allah, this is the punishment. This is the consequence of my deeds. And I know I'm the best of judge to know who I am and what did I do. So inshallah, we dedicate this majlis. As you know, we're in the months of Safar. In some reports, in the months of Safar is the Shahada of Hazrat Ruqayyah Salamullah alayha, the daughter of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam. There are different names reported for her. But we assigned the name Ruqayyah for this few years old daughter of Sayyid al-Shuhada. May Allah inshallah help all of us to find mercy, to find forgiveness in these nights. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we were able to connect ourselves Help us to remember those who are in need of our du'as and prayers. That Imam alayhi salam said that the best of du'as is praying for other people first, then du'a and praise for yourself. Lack of selfishness, especially in du'a, is a guarantee for approval of your own du'a. Inshallah, let's put our heads down. We have a tradition that if you can cry, that's the best of reaction to the musibah of Sayyid al-Shuhada. But if you cannot cry, at least your attitude, your body language must be in the form of those who cry. It is showing the form of respect. That in this school, in this message, everyone who have a pure intention will get and gain something from this. Let's inshallah say salam to Abu Abdullah Hussein and take our hearts to a journey to Sham and the musibah of Hazrat Ruqayya salamullah alayha. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayka ya Husayn ibn Ali. أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها اشفع لنا. The day of Arbaeen is a day that family of Sayyid al-Shuhada returned to Medina. And is a day that Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, companions of the Prophet, was the first visitor of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam's grave and his companions. We have that after Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam returned to Medina, years after Ashura, some of the companions, they came and approached the Imam alayhi salam and said, Ya ibn Rasulullah, when we see you, in every occasion we see that your tears start to fall. You start crying when you see a child. You start crying when they bring you water. You start crying when you see infants. O son of the messenger of God, isn't that enough? Now is a few years after the Ashura. This tears and this pain and sorrow is not good for you. And Imam Sajjad alayhi salam responded, O people, if you read Quran, you will know about the story of Yaqub and Yusuf alayhi salam. When Yaqub alayhi salam was separated from his son Yusuf, he cried and cried until he became blind. And that was only a separation between Yusuf and Yaqub. You expect me to don't cry when I saw and I witnessed my own brothers, my own father, my 6-month-old brother Ali al-Asghar in front of me. Not only they were slaughtered in front of me, not only they were beheaded in front of me, but I saw their heads on the spears for days and days when they put us in chain. When my family, when my sisters, when my aunt Zainab, they were with me and we walked from one city to another. When people were laughing and celebrating the musibah of my father. But when they asked Imam alayhi salam, which musibah was the hardest of musibah? Which hardship was the most severe hardship for you? And Imam alayhi salam repeated 3 times, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham. Imam alayhi salam didn't say the most severe musibah for us was day of Ashura. He said the hardest musibah for us was city of Sham. When they brought the family of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam, they placed them in a ruin. And we have in narration that Hazrat Ruqayyah salamullah alayha, the daughter of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam, is the one we have in reports and narration that when Mukhtar captured Shimr, he asked Shimr, you committed a lot of crimes against Ahlul Bayt of Hussein, but which one is the one that you remember the most? And we have that Shimr responded that when we were looting the tents at the eve of Ashura, when we stole everything, we had no mercy even for the covers of women. We didn't show mercy. I saw when tents were on fire, a young girl was stranded, confused, walking among these burning tents. And I look at her ears and I saw a pair of earrings, and I told myself these earrings will look nice on my own daughter. So I approached her and I ripped off the earring from the ears of this young girl, and she started to cry and the blood started flowing. And she looked at me innocently and said, man, if you would have asked for them, I would have given it to you. That moment, for a second, a little bit of sadness came to my heart. And this young girl in the midnight in Syria, in Sham, started to cry. And you start shouting, Ya Amma Zainab. My aunt Zainab, you told me my father will come. There are days and nights that we're walking under the sun. Look at my feet, they're burned. Look at my face. When my father will come. And Zainab salamullah alayha started comforting her. But Zainab this time wasn't able to comfort Ruqayyah. She started crying, and with the tears of Ruqayyah, the rest of the Ahlul Bayt started crying. Until the sound and the weeping of the woman reached Yazid ibn Muawiyah la'natullah. And he said, what's going on? What are all these noises and weeping and crying for? And they said, a young girl, the daughter of Hussein alayhi salam, is asking for her father. And we have in Maqatil that he asked, he said, take his father's head for her. They brought the head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, imagine, to a few years old girl. When they brought the head, imagine this young girl doesn't know, doesn't understand what's happening. And now this head is in front of this young girl. And Ruqayyah started wiping off the blood from the face of Abu Abdullah. And he starts saying, my father, you weren't with us when they were whipping us, they were stabbing us. You were not with us when they were slapping us. Ya Abu Abdullah, in that moment he is starting complaining about the hardship of Bani Umayyah. And we have that for a second, Ruqayyah salamullah alayha stopped. And Zainab salamullah alayha was relieved that Ruqayyah maybe is asleep. When they came to the body of Ruqayyah salamullah alayha, they saw Ruqayyah is in one side and the head of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam in the other. So we have in tradition that they ask for a woman to come and wash the body of Ruqayyah. This is one report who says this. But we have that, this is a story around 200 years ago. A flood came to the grave of Ruqayyah salamullah alayha. There is a alim, his name is Sayyid Ibrahim Damashqi. He is the reporter. So when the flood came to the grave of Ruqayyah, they told us we have to move the grave from that location to another location. So after consulting the ulama, they said there is no other way. So they decided to open the grave and take the body of Ruqayyah and move it to another location. So all the ulama, they perform ghusl, They purified themselves and they came to the door and said, whoever was able to open the door, the lock of the door, he will be the one who will open the grave. So everybody tried, no one was able to open the lock except this Sayyid Ibrahim Damashqi, a pious man. So he was able to open the lock and he started digging the grave to take the body. And when he reached a level that he was able to see, they saw that Sayyid Ibrahim Damashqi started to cry out loud and said, what happened, Sayyid? Said, I heard that in the time of Ruqayya, they sent ghassala, they sent women to wash the body of Ruqayya, but that report is not accurate. Allah is my witness that still the clothing of Ruqayya is on her body. And he took the body of Ruqayya and he asked, I will not move the body of Ruqayya from this location. They repaired the grave, and we have that he was sitting there crying, holding the body until they repaired the grave. They repaired the grave and he put it back. Ya Aba Abdullah, la yawm ka yawmaka ya Aba Abdullah. But this musibah of Ruqayya we heard many times. But the greatest of musibah was when Zainab returned to Medina. Her husband Abdullah came. When Abdullah came and said, do you know where is Zainab, my wife Zainab, where is she? And they showed a woman that she wasn't able to stand up. And he approached Zainab and said, are you Zainab? Are you Zainab? And said, Abdullah, you shouldn't be able to recognize Zainab. But Abdullah knows this, that this qawm, this Bani Umayyah, they took us to the Majlis al-Sharab, they took us among the strangers without hijab, and that's the greatest of musibah. Abdullah, you were not with us when they took the children of Hussein alayhi salam among the men, and the men were laughing at the children of Hussein alayhi salam. La yawm ka yawmika Ya Aba Abdullah, wa sayalamu alladhina ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Let's inshallah prepare for the dua at the end. Remember all those who requested dua. And inshallah, especially the end of the occultation of Imam of our time, inshallah, put that at the top and the most important of our du'as, that indeed Imam alayhi salam's faraj and end of his occultation is the end of all problems. أكثر الدعاء لتعجيل الفرج فإن في ذلك فرجكم. اللهم إنا نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم العز الأجل الأكرم بكتابك المستحكم وبنبيك المكرم وبأهل بيت المعصومين استجب دعواتنا يا الله 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 يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج. اللهم ادخل على أهل القبور السرور. اللهم أغني كل فقير. اللهم اشبع كل جائع. اللهم اكسو كل عريان. اللهم اقض دين كل مدين. اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب. اللهم رد كل غريب. اللهم فك كل أسير. اللهم اصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك. اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك. اللهم اقض عنا الدين واغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات رحم الله لمن يقرأ الفاتحة مع الصلوات.